It's Trudy Metcalfe-Coe coming to you to do a demonstration of curried caribou for the Summer Solstice Indigenous Festival. I've been invited back. I believe this is my 4th year, so it's quite an honor. I'm going to be demonstrating how to make a curried caribou. We're going to be making it with basmati rice and a oven roasted garlic cauliflower. I believe your kits will have the ingredients that are necessary to cook along with me. This is being pre-recorded, but I'm going to be online with everybody when the date is determined for the cooking itself, and your kits will be delivered. So we're going to do this section all in one video. We're going to be making the rice and the cauliflower, get those in the oven. While those are cooking, then I'll be doing the other components of everything. So bear with me. It's kind of weird to be talking to myself and imagining there's 100 people out there, maybe with some questions or whatever. So it's a little odd, but it is what it is with me being 3,000 miles away. So let's get started with doing the rice. With most rice, it's usually 1 part rice, 2 parts of a liquid. A lot of people do their rice just with a water. I'm going to be doing mine today with a chicken stock, or part chicken stock and part water. I like to rinse my rice just to get the starches off. So I'll give it a quick rinse under water. So like I said, it's 1 part water, or sorry, 1 part rice and 2 parts liquid. And I also like to season my water and stuff ahead of time. So as the rice is cooking, everything is all happening together instead of having to season it after. So let's get that in there. I didn't use a real measuring cup. So when you're 1 part solid and 2 parts liquid, just use the same cup for both. So I don't have quite 2 cups of the chicken stock here, so I'm just going to top that off with some water. Put that in there. I'm also going to add some pepper. I'm not going to add the salt right now until it's cooked, just because I won't know how that part is going to be until it is cooked. So let's get that on. I'm going to bring it to a boil and then let it just simmer for a few minutes once it comes to a boil. So I have it on maximum right now, just to bring it up to a temperature, and hopefully I don't forget about it and it boils all over my stove. So next I'm just going to get my cauliflower ready. I've already got my cauliflower cut up into florets. Cut off any, if you get a cauliflower, you have a cauliflower that has a few brown spots, that's nothing. Cut it off. Bite-sized pieces. So all my cauliflower is ready to go, and I also have to keep your kits will come for 2 to 4 people depending on what your orders are, what you've requested. I've got to keep in mind that I'm cooking for 1, so I'm going to be having curried caribou for a few days possibly. I'm going to get some garlic ready, so I'm just squashing it. I like to dump all my stuff in my sink and I clean it out after. Probably just a couple of cloves for now. It depends, If you like garlic, add more. If you don't like garlic, add less or none at all. I'm going to mulch this up. So I'm going to start off just by doing a quick chop of it. Dicing it up in a sense. And then I'm going to mulch it. You don't have to mulch it, you can leave it diced. The more you play with your garlic, the stronger the flavors get. So if you don't want it to have a powerful garlic flavor, you can do it like that. But otherwise, if you want to have it a bit more or have the garlic pieces kind of disappear, then mulch them with the edge of your knife. I might have a bit too much garlic for the amount of curry that I have. But again, cooking is something you do to your taste, your family's taste, your friends' taste. Recipes are great for ideas and stuff like that. But if there's something in the recipe that you don't like, but you want to do it anyway, you know, measure it or take out an ingredient, substitute the ingredient. It's for you to enjoy. So that's the important thing, is whatever you are making, that you make it so it suits you and your family. I need something to mix this in with a little bit of oil. I have such a small workspace here. I'm reusing my rice cup. That was 2 cloves of garlic. I'm actually only going to use 1 for this because it's pretty strong, I would say. You want to have oil or melted butter or something. I have olive oil here. You can use pretty much any kind of oil that works for you. People make, grapeseed oil, coconut oil, anything. You just want to have a little bit of that. Some salt. Some pepper. I'm just going to give this a stir. And all I'm doing now is I'm going to mix this onto my cauliflower. And I'm just going to coat the cauliflower. And this is going to go into the oven. Cauliflower depends how much you want it cooked, but you're probably going to be looking at about 30 minutes. So plan for that. Or if you want, you can maybe parboil your cauliflower ahead of time. And then you just put it in the oven to get the other flavors going. My oven is set at 375 degrees for that. I have some leftover garlic here, which is great because we actually need more of that for our curried caribou. So we have the rice on, we have the cauliflower in, and now we're going to get ready and start putting the components together for the curried caribou. The caribou I have right here, it's already diced up. If you're doing this otherwise, just have your meat diced. If you're doing this recipe at another time and it's not with caribou, turns out you really like the dish and you want to do something else. So I'm the type of person, generally I would have everything prepared and then start the cooking, but I also want to be able to work along with people so that people can see the different techniques or things, how to do something. So dice up your protein. In this case, it's caribou. You're going to want more, well, I'm going to want more garlic. This dish, I do like to have a lot of garlic in. I'm living alone, so I don't have to worry about, garlic breath or anything like that. So let's get this going. So for this, we're going to have equal parts garlic and ginger. And both of them are pretty much going to be the same thing, mulched or diced kind of finely. In this case, I think what I'm going to do is I already have a little bit of mulched garlic there. I'm going to just dice up this one a bit. And that's going to be, I think, enough garlic for my taste. For your taste, like I said, make it the way that works for you. I can hear my rice cooking, so I need to turn that down there by boiling. So if you have a rice cooker, use a rice cooker. I'm fairly confident that everybody's cooked rice or has their favorite kind of rice. Mine happens to be basmati, so that's what I am making. If you haven't had jasmine rice, minute rice, whatever works for you and your family. So here we have ginger root. I want to have about the same amount of ginger as I do garlic. So in this case, for the amount I'm making enough here for maybe 2 people. So I use 2 cloves of garlic. So which comes out to about a tablespoon. So I want to have about the same amount of ginger. To peel the ginger, simplest way is with a spoon. And you know, it takes off the top layer only. Sprays ginger juice all over you, but it's okay. It stings the eyes a little bit, but ginger is so one of those very versatile root vegetables that adds a lot of flavor to so many things. Salads, salad dressings, desserts, meats, and readily available in the grocery stores, fairly cheap and very, very good for you. So ginger root doesn't break down like garlic does. So you could peel it like this, kind of like with a knife, just or a carrot peeler, I guess maybe. I find a knife does it very thinly, so for me it's the nicest way to do it. So I'm going to start off like this, and then I'm going to just chop that up a little bit more. That's near enough for what I'm going to be using it for. So that can go over there. So there's that. I mean, it's in ribbons right now. So I'm just going to chop it a bit. There we go. Excuse me. It's hot in my apartment, even though we're just moving into spring up here in the building itself. I have no heat on, my window is open, but it's warm in here. Next thing I'm going to do, which maybe I should have done first, now that I'm thinking about it, because I should have had these on the stove and started already. I'm going to dice an onion. We want to pre-cook it a bit, par cook it, before we add the caribou and stuff to it. So I'm just cutting in half, peel off that top layer. And again, onion is one of those things. I mean, I think it is necessary to put into the dish. If you cut it up small enough, there's people who don't like the texture of onion and stuff like that. Cut it up small enough so that when it cooks, it kind of disappears into everything, but you still have the flavor. I definitely don't like texture of onion, but once it's caramelized, it disappears and the dish would not be the same without it. So if people are like, oh yes, there's a cloth under my cutting board here. I do that because if you have your cutting board on a counter, sometimes it slips around and stuff. Just a little trick, put a wet cloth under it and it will not slide. So I'm going to be dicing my onion. This is an Inuit women's knife. So traditionally it's a woman's knife. It's called an ulu. I'm going to be dicing it's very sharp. So like I said, I'm not fond of the texture of onion, but I want the flavor. So I'm going to be dicing mine up fairly small. I want it to pretty much disappear into the dish. And for the amount of caribou that I'm doing, you might get away with a half an onion. I love onion. As long as I don't feel it on my teeth. So I'm going to put the whole thing in. And for those of you who might not have an ulu but have a knife instead, so same way as with the ulu, cut it up into small pieces. Once you get it all diced up, it's going to caramelize cook fairly quickly in the pan, and you can see like when you do it like that, then you have fairly small pieces. You can leave it bigger, or you can make it even smaller again. So there's that. So I'm going to put this into a frying pan with some butter and oil. So a little bit of oil. Oil helps the milk solids in the butter not to burn. And butter because it's butter, you know. One of the best tasting things on the face of the planet for cooking. So I put that on the stove. Melt it down a little bit. Brush off any peels that you may not have gotten off the first time around. Get rid of the garbage. I have a very small kitchen up here, so I have to keep all my services, everything, just when I'm done with it, put it away. So I'm going to add these to the frying pan. I'm starting off with a fairly high heat, just to get it started. Once it gets started, then we're going to turn it down a little bit. While that's happening, I'm going to be preparing a couple of other things. Like I said, I should have had it in before I did the garlic and ginger. So I'm going to do some mushrooms. I just have white button mushrooms here. I pop out the middle, depending on how fresh they are. The middles come out quite easily, or these are a couple of days old. And all I'm doing is cutting them in quarters. A lot of people don't like mushrooms, other people do. So rather than leave them out of the dish, I make them big enough so that if somebody doesn't like mushrooms, they can pop them out and then, you know, put them on your plate. So I'm also going to fry these up really quickly. And with those, I don't want to sweat them all out and bleed them and, you know, bleed out all the moisture and stuff in them. I want these to actually brown. So I'm doing these on a fairly high heat. We'll toss them to coat them and stuff like that with the butter. And this time I am using just butter because the butter will help them brown better. And then we'll just take them off the heat and we'll add them to the cooked curried caribou nearer the end, so that they retain their individual flavor and they don't go in and get lost in everything else there. So right now things are a little bit stagnant just because we have to kind of wait for everything to cook. I'm going to check on the rice here just to see what stage that's at. So I'm turning the rice off and I'm just going to let it do its thing. Let the rest of the moisture kind of evaporate in the steam and it'll be cooked. It doesn't take long once you bring it to a boil. So the other thing, I guess, too, maybe talk about a little bit of, you know, why I'm here. I came to Curried last year in September. I'm working here at the Caribou Community Food Center as a peer advocacy coordinator. Like I said, I'm heading home at the end of May, so it's kind of exciting because I do miss my family. I enjoy being here, but it's been a long time, several months, and looking forward to going back home and hopefully being able to come back in the future to do some other things. Traditionally, caribou is one of our mainstays, one of our regular proteins that Inuit hunters are generally the men in the family would do the hunting. Inuit are nomads. They were nomadic. They followed the herds and stuff like that. And settlements have only been in play for, you know, maybe 80 years or something. All of our animals, because we don't have a lot of vegetation up here, so traditionally we would be basically meat eaters. So caribou, muskox, seal, whales, fish, and then in the summertime we might get some berries and a few lichens and stuff off the land. It's too cold, winter is too long, we can't grow vegetables and stuff here. So things have changed, of course. Oops. My butter for my mushrooms. So mushrooms are on and browning. Onions are on and getting ready to caramelize. One of the things I'm going to have to figure out here is I have two cameras going, but I want to be able to show people also, so technicalities, when you only have two hands and you need them for cooking and you want to see this and you want to see that and you want to see this. And I'm hoping I don't set my smoke detectors off because it's right there. And in a small apartment, it doesn't take much to hear the beat going. So, oh yeah, so I was talking about, you know, the meats and stuff that we have. Caribou is not readily available anymore because there is a moratorium. We are trying to get their numbers back up. So it's not something that's hunted a lot anymore. It is a regulated hunt now. So the nice thing, like I said, with this recipe, if caribou is not available, any of the other proteins, something I think I might like to try making with maybe Arctic char at some point. So it is an East Indian dish. I first learned of it in 2017. I believe we had Canada 150, and I had the pleasure of cooperating with Chef Vikram Bij, and this is one of parts of it are his family recipe for a curried chicken. So we use some of the same spices. I've changed a few things here and there. It's hard to vary off because, you know, cumin is cumin, turmeric is turmeric. Those are some of the spices we're going to be using. But I did add, like, it's a very nice dish and it's very adaptable, and I do have permission from Vikram Bij to use it the way that I would like to use it. So actually, I'll just bring this over here so you can see right here how the onion is browning. Keep a good eye on it from this point. You don't want it to burn. And our mushrooms, oh, my smoke detector, our mushrooms are just browned here. So I'm taking the mushrooms off of the heat, and we'll just put them to the side until we're ready to add them to the dish. So to the onions, I'm now going to add the garlic and ginger. We have 4 spices here, or 5 spices. There's actually should be 6, but I don't like heat, so I'm not adding paprika. Not paprika, what's it called? There's that red one. Cayenne. I don't even know the name of it. I won't cook with it. It's just too hot for me. So we have a cinnamon stick. I'm just going to break that in 2. I'm going to toss it in the pan. I've turned the heat down a little bit. So here we have 4 spices. One is a garam masala. Garam masala is a mixture of other spices. A lot of the East Indian families, they have their own recipes for garam masala. This is something I just bought in the store as garam masala. We have a coriander, we have a cumin, and we have a turmeric. And like I said, if you like to have a bit of heat, then you can add some curry to your, what's it called again? Cayenne to yours. I'm going to put, this is all about a teaspoon of each one here. I'm actually going to do maybe about a half a teaspoon of each one into the onions and the cinnamon stick right now. Oh, it's smelling so good here. So I got that turned down. We're going to be needing to deglaze the pan. So I'm going to deglaze it with tomato. And all you want to do is cut up your tomato fairly small, so dice it. You want to have the juices. Okay, so you need a pretty sharp knife for tomatoes. And you have all that juice on the board. You want to scoop all of those up because that's what you want to deglaze your pan with when the time comes. So scoop them all up. I'm going to put them in this dish here. family of 2 or a dinner for 2, 1 tomato might be enough. It depends what kind of tomato you have, how much juice is in it and stuff like that, and also your own personal taste. I'm going to do just the 1. I've made this dish a couple of times, and this is what seems to work for me, for what I want. While you're doing all this, keep checking on your pan also. You don't want those onions and things to burn. I'll bring them over. So you'll see, this is kind of what it's looking like. Some of the onions are a little bit crispy, the garlic, the ginger, the spices are all mixed through. It's yellow because of the turmeric. The smells are amazing. And now, what I'm going to be doing when I get back to the stove, I'll do it now. I'm putting everything out to the edges here because I'm going to add my caribou into the middle of this and start browning it. So depending on what kind of meat you're using, if it's chicken, of course, you need to cook it well all the way through. If you're doing caribou, deer, lamb, beef, most of those dishes, well, all of those, you don't have to well cook your meat. So same thing with caribou. And I didn't put very much butter in that, and it's been absorbed. I'm going to add a little bit more butter to that. So you want your pan hot for this because you kind of want to sear your meat. You don't need to be moving that too much. You want to sear it. Give it, 2 or 3 minutes, and then you're going to give it a toss. Let that cook for 2 or 3 minutes, and then you're going to add your tomatoes. And I'm going to actually check on my cauliflower now. I think I'm done with my cutting board. So let's get rid of that stuff. I like my cauliflower near raw, so if you want yours cooked longer, then leave it in the oven longer. Or like I said, parboil it before you put it in. I want mine to be pretty al dente. That's just the way that I like it. But if it's something that you want to cook longer, put it in the oven before I did. I just added my mushrooms there. Turn up the heat a little bit because it's not browning quite as fast as I would like it to. And this is all, cooking is trial and error. You make a mistake, figure it out, change it the next time around, or it could be a good mistake. I'm going to be checking my rice. So you can see here, the caribou everything is cooked nicely together. The caribou is probably about a medium rare. I'm going to be stopping it pretty soon because I don't like my meat well done. But first I'm going to put it back on and add the tomatoes. And it's actually pretty moist, so the deglazing is not really necessary. gonna let that come to full temperature on a really high heat. Brown it just a tad. In the meantime, get my plate ready to add everything else. Oh, that's a lot of rice for one person. Well, I'll have to figure out what to do with that. Maybe a rice pudding or something sometime. Oh. Ooh, it smells amazing. So just right over the rice. I didn't even taste it. My mouth is watering. I'm sure it'll taste just fine. I've done it so many times that I know it's going to taste okay. There's that one of those celery sticks. Let's take that out and toss it back there. And some cauliflower. I'm not the greatest plater in the world, but if you want to make your plates look pretty, by all means. One day I'll have to take a class on how to do that sort of thing. For me, it's all about the flavors. So there's that. So that's that. That's a curried caribou with oven roasted cauliflower. I'm going to be also demonstrating. We're going to be making together. It's a palauga, which is kind of like a bannock, but I'm going to be making more of a Newfoundland tea biscuit. My heritage, I'm part Newfoundland. My mom was from Newfoundland. My dad was Inuit from Northern Labrador, now known as Nunatsiavut. So I'm going to do, and every culture has its breads. We as Inuit have a palauga. I like Newfoundland tea biscuits, usually with raisins. I don't like raisins in them. I'm going to put blueberries in mine. And we're going to do blueberry tea biscuits with a lemon curd. But for now, I'm going to eat this, take a little break, clean up this little space that I have here so that we can come back and do the lemon curd and blueberry tea biscuits.